My name's Chris Phillip.
My name is Paul Anderson.
My name is Mark Boyd.
Hello, my name is Derek Combs, and I listen to the Blue Army podcast.
My name is Matty Robson, and you're listening to the Blue Army podcast.
Because I wish I got all that, yeah. I wish I got all that. But no, it sounds like we got most of the kinks out the way. Yeah, so it's just going to be me and you, obviously. So, yeah, I guess we'll just get the show on the road and we'll get the ball rolling. I'll introduce things. Okay. Great Marins, how's it going? And welcome back to the Blue Army podcast. This is, of course, episode 94. We're getting up there, pal. And I'm joined by one half of the Cumbrian Brain Trust. That's right. We're doing double duty this week. I couldn't think of another thing on the spot, mate. That was that. It didn't make any sense. Double duty doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm talking about Liam. How are you doing, man? You all right?
Doing great. I would be doing better if Wills was here, but we'll have to make do without.
Yeah, we'll have to make do without Wills this week. He's away having some kind of fun at some kind of concert. I'm sure we'll be able to catch up with him next week, mate. It'll be fine. But don't feel too down, Liam. And if you are feeling down, don't worry, because at this time of the show, we have traditions, and that means it's time for one thing and one thing only, something that's going to cheer you up. That's right, it's time for the Blue Army podcast Joke of the Week. Is he having a laugh? I think he's trying to. It's the Blue Army podcast Joke of the Week. Yeah, get in. Right, buddy, here we go. I hope you like this one. It's a bit clunky. I hope it's not. Oh, God, here we go.
Setting expectations low.
The best thing to do on this one, I think. Hopefully it'll impress. What have you got when a zombie and an alien play darts?
I don't know.
One undead and E.T.
It got a smirk.
Is it okay now? Well, you didn't get up and try and leave this week at least, so that's not too bad. You can't do that to us anyway, because it's only me and you this week, and that means I'm filling in a little bit for Wills when it comes to the League 2 look around. But before we jump into that, we don't normally cover Tuesday night games in any depth here on the Blue Army podcast, so I mean, it is worth mentioning. It's a good thing to dive in with, really. Carlisle beat Hartlepool 3-1 on Tuesday night at home in front of an absolutely great Tuesday night crowd. Huge in numbers. Back-to-back victories that meant on Tuesday night. Dennis with 2 goals. Feeney with the opener. Liam, your memories of this one, your match reaction to this one?
I think it was class. You know, I like beating Hartlepool anyway, but to beat them as convincingly as we did, you know, I think the only goal they managed to score was one we pretty much gave them. They were a bit of a pushover, to be honest with you. They disappointed me because you come into these sort of like games against rivals. You know, I'm not going to call it a derby, but you know, they're two teams that don't really like each other anyways. You come into these sort of games thinking you need us to beat them. And they just made it far too easy for us. Like, if I was a Hartlepool fan at that match, I'd be so angry with my team because it's two sets of supporters that really don't like each other. And they've pretty much just given up from the first minute because it was so easy for us. I think we never really left second gear. And it showed when we made that mistake. Owen Moxon passes it back, plays their guy into our keeper. It was a brilliant assist from Moxon, to be fair, just in the wrong direction. But yeah, other than that one,
it was a good touch, a good bring down. Yeah, it was.
It was.
It was such a class to it in a way.
You just forgot what team he was playing for. But yeah, apart from the goal we give them, we were never in any danger really. And we scored our goals. We took them well. That third goal, I want to mention as well. It was a thing of beauty. You know, just the build-up play. You know, getting it out from the back. Dennis gets it, doesn't he? He plays the ball out wide to Moxon. Brilliant cross in, an absolutely fantastic header from Dennis. You know, completely unmarked as well. I wouldn't be happy if I was a Hartlepool fan, but you know, it was such a good goal, such a good team goal, and it was the type of goals that you see scored at higher levels. It's not your sort of stereotypical scrappy League Two goal like maybe the first one was. But yeah,
That's
it impressed.
Yeah,
Brilliant,
no,
brilliant goal.
it really was. It was a really nice touch between. I've mentioned this about Dennis before, and I've done a bit of a profile on Dennis, which I'll go into more when we talk about the Rochdale game. Just the way he's been impressing in recent weeks, and he's really coming into his own, especially as far as this division standards are concerned. And but I won't go on to talk about Dennis just yet. It's the Hartlepool game, mate. It was a great result for us, 3-1. We deserved the victory. We looked like the better team from day one. What I was trying to scramble to remember to say is, did you hear what Paul Simpson said? Owen Moxon came up to him after the goal, after the third goal, and he said, that
Oh
makes
yeah.
up. Yeah, he said that makes up for the mistake. And Paul Simpson said, no, it doesn't.
No.
That's what I was trying to remember. So sorry about that little ramble, everyone. That's what I was trying to remember.
Demanding excellence. That's what you've got to think about for that one.
I mean, it's put it on a sixpence, man. It was fantastic. What a fantastic goal. I mean, you just don't see that kind of a cross, that kind of quality, and that kind of way to get in the box like Dennis did at this level that often. And it was a proper goal. You know what I mean? It was a proper footballing goal.
Yeah.
Well beyond this level, and it's something that we're actually becoming quite accustomed to now, especially where Jordan can get unleashed down either side at the moment, and Dennis is able to sort of look over his shoulder and flick it on, which is what he did in the Rochdale game. But before we go on to talk about the Rochdale game, Liam, you've got a bit of a segment here now. It's normally you and Wills, but I've decided I'm going to fill in a little bit, which might mean I'll change the theme tune, but it's about time we found out what
was happening here. We found out what was happening there. Because it's the League 2 Roundup with Liam and Liam.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
No, not quite. No, I'm sorry. I'm filling in. But I won't go on too much. So we've decided to sort of like divide the top half of the table and the bottom half of the table into a bit of news. I'll go first with the bottom half of the table, if that's okay with you, buddy, because I think I've got a nice point to hand over to you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll dive in with that. So the bottom three haven't changed in terms of positions. Rochdale sitting right rock bottom with Gillingham and Hartlepool making up the bottom three, but there has been a little gap made in terms of points gained. Obviously, Rochdale lost to us on the weekends, and we will talk about that eventually. We do keep mentioning it, do apologise. But Gillingham managed a draw against Swindon, 3-3. So they are scoring and firing on all cylinders and managing to gain a bit of traction. They've recently got themselves just off the bottom of the table and now have 2 games in hand over Rochdale. And now Hartlepool are looking over their shoulders as they desperately do not want to get dragged into that relegation zone. But they lost 2-1 to Colchester this week. And when I did look at that Colchester result there, it really got me looking at how many games certain teams have played so far in this division. Colchester have played 29 times so far in this division, but there are teams like Grimsby, Walsall, and I believe there's one more in there, Crewe Alexander, that have only played 24 games. You know, that's 15 points. That's a lot of points that are still up for grabs in those positions. This league feels very topsy-turvy, but lucky enough for us, all those teams kind of reside in the mid-table or lower, so I don't think it's really going to affect anything at the top end of the table. But Liam, you'll know what's going on at the top end of the table, won't you? So I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, the big result from this round of fixtures was probably Tranmere getting a 1-0 win over Leyton Orient, which puts Stevenage in a very, very good position to fight for that top spot now, especially with them beating Leyton Orient not so many days ago. I think was it the week before? I think it was. But yeah, Tranmere, good 1-0 win over Leyton Orient. Leyton Orient are really starting to slip from that top spot. I think at one point in the season they were 13 points clear. They're now only, I believe it's 3 points. I'll just check that. Yeah, they're 3 points. No, 2. They're 2 points ahead. However, Stevenage below them have 2 games in hand on them. So Stevenage really, if you're counting those games in hand, are probably top spot. They're probably the team to beat at the minute. And Leyton Orient, you look at their form. In the last 5 games, they've lost 3, drawn 1, won 1. And then you look at Stevenage, they've won 3, drawn 2. Stevenage are really, really gaining on Leyton Orient now. And Leyton Orient, despite being so dominant in the first half of the season, are really, really slipping away now. Northampton as well, slipping away. 3 losses in their last 5 games compared to Carlisle's 4 wins in 5 games. They're really starting to catch up now. And the thing I've noticed is,
huge gap, wasn't there? Sorry, did you? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there was a huge gap once upon a time with Leyton Orient and with Northampton as well, being in them automatic promotion places.
It feels like the gap between Carlisle and Northampton shrank really quickly.
Yeah, it did, and that's because Leyton Orient went that run of losses. You look at they won the other day, but in the last 5 games they've lost 3. They won the other 2, but them 3 losses really did put them in a big, big disadvantage. And you've got to think as well. I think what's happening now in the table is it's starting to sort of solidify itself. The top 2 are sort of fighting for that top spot. Then you've got 3rd and 4th fighting for that 3rd spot, and then below that there's a 6-point gap down to 5th between 4th and 5th, Carlisle in 4th, Salford in 5th. And what's starting to formulate there is them bottom 3 teams, them 3 teams below Carlisle, plus Bradford, Barrow, Wimbledon, and maybe Sutton. I think Stockport are probably in a stronger position despite being below Sutton. Them teams are all going to be fighting for the playoffs, whereas Carlisle and Northampton are both going to be fighting for that last automatic promotion place, because there's a gap between Northampton and Stevenage, a very big gap, and there's a very big gap between Carlisle and Salford. So it's them 2 teams that seem to be the ones that are the sort of favourites to get promoted by that 3rd automatic promotion place. Salford, Stevenage and Leyton Orient have maybe broken away a little bit now, and they're just fighting for the title, fighting for the trophy as well as the promotion. But it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top between Northampton and Carlisle coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's as cut and dry as that either. Like, I feel like because the gap at this level, you see it happen year in, year out. A team can come out of nowhere and just upset everything. And there are always fallaways. And I mean, we'll see how quickly Orient can really do some sort of consistent corrections. But yeah, I don't think, the league title for the top 4, is out of the question. I feel like we're not out of the picture, basically, is what I want to say. And
well, you look at it as well. Leyton Orient and Carlisle have lost the same amount of games. They've both only lost 5. It's just draws that are separating them. And I think, how many points is that? That's 9 points separating them. At that level, that can disappear like nout. We could definitely still be in the title race if we go on a mad run of games. Like, do you remember that run where did we win 8 on the bounce or something like that under Sheridan? That took us right from like the bottom half of the table right into them promotion places. It was just before Sheridan left, before he had that sort of falling out with the players. So if something like that happens again, which this team is very, very capable of, especially with Kimani Gordon coming into some sort of weird, brilliant form, like what John Mellish did once upon a time under Chris Beach, hopefully, there's no reason why that sort of breakaway of the top 2 can't be shortened really, really quickly.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to say, and you said it all more eloquently, mate. Thanks very much for doing that for us. I mean, so there we go. We found out what was happening here. We found out what was happening there. It was the League 2 roundup with Liam and Liam. Please come back next week, Wills. Thank you. Not that I didn't enjoy doing it with you, Liam. It's just it's not my place to be. But yeah, here we go with a place I normally am. It's a bit of Carlisle United related news, and there was a rumor that ended up in my inbox. Well, a couple of rumors that have ended up in my inbox this week, and I mean, I'm just going to air them just for the sake of airing them. The first of which is that Jamie Devitt left training today a little bit early because apparently there has been an approach made, and he has been allowed to go and discuss, because obviously deadline day is on Wednesday. So there's only a small amount of time if a move is going to be made. And then Toby Silva, apparently there was an approach made for Toby. Apparently it was Hartlepool, and apparently it was going to be accepted until Toby Silva has since had a bit of an ankle injury and was seen today in training wearing a boot, and he will not be able to pass any fitness tests, and therefore he'll probably not be able to be available for a move. I mean, Toby's really popular I'd like to see him stay. Jamie Devitt's really popular. I'd like to see him stay. I feel like the squad do need a lot of depth, but Liam, it hasn't been out of Paul Simpson's mouth this week that his squad's quite big. He is leaving out certain players, and there's more players coming back from injury, so there's going to be more players getting left out. There's only, I mean, when this podcast comes out, I think that is transfer deadline day is pretty much been and gone. But like, do you think?
Yeah, it will have been.
Do you think like we do kind of need to maybe move one or two people on, not just for the sake of us, but maybe for the sake of them and their own career, and even if it's a loan or something like that?
I think maybe Toby Shaw-Silver's fallen a little too far down the pecking order for what he would like to be at this point in his career. But at the same time, we've seen how badly this squad can get done for injuries in just like a matter of weeks. Like I remember there was one point in time where, despite having all these brilliant strikers, Toby Shaw-Silver was our only fit striker. Now, since then, we've brought in, I think we've got one more striker now than what we did then. Obviously, Kimani Gordon's come in as well, but that coincides with the loss of Jack Stretton. So I think we've got only one more striker than we did back then. And for a team that plays two strikers, at that point, we were having to play Jordan Gibson as a striker, which he really isn't. So I think if you can afford to keep these sort of players, do it. If they want to go, let them go. But I don't really see much indication that Toby Shaw-Silver really is desperate to leave or something like that. I know for a fact Jamie Devitt isn't. Like Jamie Devitt, he seems to be really popular, and he's getting on the bench every week as well, and he is coming on in games. He had that brilliant effort come off the bar. I think was it Salford we were playing, or Crewe it was Crewe. Away from home, he got that brilliant shot put onto the bar. I think Jamie Devitt's still got work to do here, and I'd be disappointed if he went. I'd be more understanding if Toby Shaw-Silver went, but at the end, I don't really want either of them to leave, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone really that I feel like it's a good, strong squad. There's a good amount of numbers in there, and sorry, I do apologize. I do feel like if this squad's going to be able to go forward, then we need a big squad, and that's good. Coming up to a summer to have more options of people re-signing deals. It's better just to leave the door open for more people at this stage of the season, in my opinion. And it would be a shame to see anyone leave at this point because the team is doing so well. Everyone's been called upon, Senior, Ellis, like there's so many people that have had to fill in different positions that you haven't seen much of maybe the year beforehand. But yeah, Whelan as well had a bit of a phase at the start of the season where he had to fill in and come in before Huntington signed with the club as well. There's been times everyone's played like a little run of games. Everyone's had a chance. Edmo's played up front whenever he can be fit, basically. I feel like Edmo's still one of Simpson's preferred choice of striker up front with Dennis. Whenever he's fit, I feel like he's the preferred kind of balance he likes to have up front. And hopefully we'll get to see more of him coming into the second half of the season. But it's important to keep hold of everyone because people like Edmo coming back from injury will feel like a new signing in March. You know what I mean? It's important to have those impacts at those points of the season that can keep building and adding competition. Edmore coming back will make maybe Gordon work harder in training and maybe Dennis work harder in training and Garner as well. These things have a knock-on effect and, hopefully that's only going to do us better. And Simpson's got these an idea of some kind of momentum plan, maybe, and that does involve keeping the squad together, and that means not letting anyone go. So they're the rumours that ended up in my inbox about people leaving. Talking about people leaving, ex-Carlisle United starlet Jared Branthwaite, who is currently on loan at PSV, has been the subject of huge rumours that Ruud van Nistelrooy, his current manager at PSV, is willing to spend upwards of £20 million to get him on a permanent basis in the next couple of days. That's right, they want the deal to be done before the January transfer window closes because apparently Everton need the funds in order to fund some kind of relegation survival thing. I don't know how far 20 million is going to go in a relegation survival fight in the Premier League, to be completely honest. So, I mean, I feel like we're going to miss out on all Henderson's good sort of things. I feel like that contract's going to run out at Man United. We're not going to see anything coming in terms of like Dean Henderson. Jared Branthwaite's sort of windfall seems to be the new shining light. Would you like to see it come this January?
I'd like to. I don't think it's gonna. I don't really think PSV are in a position to spend that much money on a young English player that hasn't really. He's been good there. He's impressed, but I don't think they'd be willing to spend that much on him, to be honest. Because PSV aren't that club. They aren't the club that goes out and spends loads of money. That could be changed by the fact they've just got a lot of money for Cody Gakpo from Liverpool. That could be the only sort of hope for Carlisle fans wanting him to be bought by PSV. But I think, would that make him their record transfer in? And I don't think, as much as I love Jared, I don't think he would be the big record-breaking transfer that PSV would want to spend the Cody Gakpo money on.
I mean, I think it's quite a smart investment, to be honest. Like the age that Jared is, and obviously he's English, so the idea would be if you bring him in for 20 million, you know, eventually maybe next season, then you start him in pretty much every game. You really look to sort of build that defense around him for the next 2 or 3 years, and then you look at a Chelsea, a Man City, a Newcastle, maybe a Liverpool or something like that, and they'll probably spend upwards of 35, 45 million to have somebody available for their Champions League squads that can come in. You know, that's the right time for Van Dijk to be leaving Liverpool, maybe. You know, that's the kind of, you know, these things are ways of coming rounds and roundabouts.
Look, maybe, but I can't see it happening. And we've heard the same thing every single transfer window for about 2 years about Dean Henderson. So I'm not going to get my hopes up too much that it's going to happen. Plus, what you say about Dean Henderson, we're going to miss the windfall on that. I don't agree with that, to be honest. I think there is a situation where we get both. I don't think it'll happen this January, but Dean Henderson going to the likes of Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest fans seem to really like him. The manager seems to really like him. He's injured at the minute, isn't he? I think, or is he just coming back from injury, something like that?
I thought like his contract was up at the end of the season now.
I think it's the end of next season.
Oh, I hope so.
I might be wrong, but I think it's the end of next season. I don't think they would send him out on loan for his contract to run out at the end of the season. I think the hope for Man United is to get some money in the end, because they wouldn't have sent him out on loan if they weren't going to get anything for him. Because there was interest at the time for clubs to come in and spend money for him. I think there was, I think Tottenham were offering like 20 million or something like that at the time, and they thought, no, we're going to send him out and try and increase his value by getting another full season in the Prem. But yeah, I think their eventual plan for Dean Henderson is to either play him as first choice, which I think with Eric Ten Hag coming in, maybe isn't going to be the case. I think when Solskjaer was there, he liked to sort of play not good enough youth prospects, but like McTominay. But I think with Ten Hag, I think the eventual plan for Dean Henderson is to cash in on him as soon as possible. I hope they do that. I hope they do the same with Jared Brandtwaite as well, because imagine that coming in. You get 2 million from each, 4 million into the club, immediately play off that pure pay debt, which I think is about 2.5 million now. And then you've got 1.5 million to put into whatever. Players maybe upgrading the training ground, which I think probably needs to happen, maybe. Putting a roof on the waterworks end could be a priority, but yeah, it'd be nice to see that come through, but I can't see either of them happening in January. I think if both of them might happen in summer, I think that's maybe a possibility, but January, I don't think so.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see something come in. Full stop. And like you said, both of these could easily wipe out that debt just on their own. So like, it'd be fantastic just for that to stop.
And by the time this has come out, we'll already know. So, so the listeners will know whether we've cleared that debt or not now. So I hope they're sitting listening to this thinking that I'm an absolute buffoon. But yeah.
Well, something I saw on social media about a week ago was a challenge in a Rochdale pub that involved Jaeger bombs and away fans, and Carlisle United fans have absolutely smashed the record, I believe. They might be top of the leaderboard now. There was pictures of Carlisle United fans enjoying many Jaeger bombs at a pub in Rochdale. Congratulations for topping the leaderboard and representing this fine county, boys. Well done, well done, well done. Liam, were you amongst them? Did you see any of this?
I didn't go to Rochdale.
You didn't go to Rochdale?
I had my driving lesson in the morning, so I couldn't do it. But it's the second time that week that we've beat Hartlepool. I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, I mean, I went to Hartlepool at least, so unfortunately I didn't go to Rochdale. So this might be a bit of a short match report, but it was always going to be a bit of a short match report, to be honest, because there's only the one goal for us to talk about. But before I go into the match report for Carlisle United's 1-0 victory over Rochdale, which made it for the first time this season 3 wins in a row for the Cumbrians, I'm going to give you the Carlisle United starting lineup for the game that took place in Rochdale. I'm talking about Thomas Hoyley in nets with Senior, Feeney, Huntington, Mellish and Armour across the back line. Gibson, Guy and Moxon in the midfield. Gordon and Dennis up front. Now, Liam, I was whipped by social media a little bit this week because I put on social media, would you be tempted at all, given the current run of fixtures, because it's Saturday, Tuesday, to change a few things? And I suggested maybe changing Garner for Dennis, just for one game. I got a bit of social media backlash for that. Probably rightfully so. I'll be honest. Some people were just nice enough just to say no. And that was nice of them, people just to say no. You don't change a winning team, do you not, Liam? Is everyone else right?
Everyone else is right. I saw that. I didn't comment myself because I thought I'd comment on it now on the podcast as almost the voice of the people. Why on earth would you drop Christian Dennis for that game? It's an important game against a very, very poor defence, because that's been Rochdale's problem this season. Their defence is dreadful. You're not going to drop the top goal scorer in the league for that game. He could easily have got, in an ideal world, it didn't happen, but you put in the best striker in the league, theoretically, against the worst defence in the league. It gives him a big opportunity to try and up them numbers a bit, doesn't it? And I think Christian Dennis would not have been happy with being dropped for that game at all. He didn't score in the end, but yeah, I'm glad he kept the winning team, because all the players I would have dropped, if I was going to drop anyone, I'd have dropped Kimani Gordon and in hindsight, that's absolutely an awful decision because he got the goal. But yeah, good lineup. Stick to a winning team, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll go on to talk about the Tuesday night game, Barrow, which obviously would have happened by this point in the Saturday game against Harrogate. But yeah, nothing changed. You don't change a winning team, as I've really recently learned. I mean, you know me, I like to stir the pot a little bit. I know what's best, but I do like to stir the pot a little bit. And it was Gordon that had the first attempt of the game. There was a bit of a mistake by the Rochdale defence. Gordon took it round the goalkeeper a little bit too far, and the ball went round the post. He looked like he was really up for it this day. But the Carlisle goal, I mean, it didn't take too long, did it, mate, to be completely honest? It was in the 8th minute of the game. And it was a counter-attack. There was a throw-in from Rochdale deep inside Carlisle's half. And, I mean, the fullback, or the striker, sorry, is absolutely, or the winger, sorry, is absolutely done. The Carlisle defence done fantastically well to keep it in, but not very fruitful with his cross. And Carlisle clear really well. And this is where I really want to focus in on Dennis the Menace. This is what Dennis the Menace is doing fantastically well this season. This is why Dennis the Menace has the nickname Dennis the Menace, because he's horrible to play against. You don't know which centre-back he's going to be on, and this is what he's perfect at doing. He finds the perfect space between the two centre-backs. He's always got space. He's always got room. He's always giving defenders doubt. And not only can he turn and run into those channels, he can look over his shoulder and play a fantastic ball through, which is done here, by the way, with his left foot. By the way, just by the way, he's done it with his left foot. He's played it over a few defenders, and it's a fantastic ball for Kimani Gordon to run through on. And he's got a fair bit to do, but he's got the pace, and that's what he really needed. And the finish was fantastic. Slips the goalkeeper, and it's like what we said against Hartlepool: proper footballing goals.
Yeah, do you know what? It's perfect. I had no idea what the Rochdale defence were doing, to be perfectly honest with you. Where they were at, I do not know. It was such a good ball from Dennis as well, though. He's such a good player. Not just goal scoring. I think he's third for assists for Carlisle this season, behind Gibson and Moxon. Just because he gets these assists as well. He gets goals and assists. He's the perfect player. He's absolutely fantastic. Kimani Gordon as well, 2 goals in 3 games, both very similar goals as well. Runs through, I think he gets it through the keeper's legs. The camera angle, from what I saw, wasn't great. I don't know whether did he get it between the keeper's legs or just past the keeper.
I
Either
think
way, it
he
was
did
very
it
close
round
to
the
the keeper.
keeper. I think he did. It's not a great camera angle, you're right.
No, but I think through the keeper's legs or whatever. he gets it past. He gets it past the keeper regardless. Very good finish. Straight over to the Carlisle fans. He kisses the badge, which I absolutely love. From a lone player, he shows a bit of commitment.
You gotta be careful pulling the badges on these era kits, lad.
It would have been classic when he pulls the badge, it just comes straight off, running
be
about with a
class?
plain red top on. But no, good finish, brilliant ball by Dennis, and it did the job.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how you can sum up Carlisle United's performance on the day. It did the job, We were quite happy to let Rochdale have the majority of possession. We didn't exactly go pressing too much for the rest of the game. It was a grinded out result, as said by Paul Simpson. You really have to show some grit and determination. And Liam, these are the kind of wins that you have to eke out if you're going to have success, isn't it?
Yeah, I said it towards the start of the season when we got beat by Leyton Orient, when they just got extremely lucky. Champions get lucky. Champions get results when they aren't playing the best. They're the kind of games that you win if you're going to get promoted. And we did win. Rochdale were poor, but they had their chances. We defended well. Thomas Hawley had a good game. I'm not really. I don't appreciate Thomas Hawley as much as I should. I don't think. I think I'm very critical of him
this season, isn't it?
He's doing well. He's doing really well. I've been very critical of him not coming for crosses and that, but I think the last 2 games, Hartlepool and this one, he's really improved in that regard. That's sort of coming for crosses, and I think he's becoming a really good keeper. I'm happy with the last few performances from Thomas Hawley. He's really proved me wrong, which I'm so happy about, because there was some real questions starting to come out about him, especially after that Warsaw game where he just had an absolute stinker, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he hasn't let that affect him too much. He looks really confident. You can tell he absolutely loves it as well. You see the videos of him, and I've been to a few away games this season. Every single game that we've won, which is most of them, he comes straight over to the away fans, celebrates with the away fans. The away fans absolutely love him. He gets his name chanted. You can tell he absolutely loves being here, and I'm so happy that he's starting to play a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see the Giant get confidence back into him. Yeah, you're right. He did have a bit of a shaky thing, and his kicking, his passing wasn't looking very good for a little while. But what he has been quite consistent at doing is pulling off some really good saves. And he did have a really good save to have to pull off against Rochdale as well. There was a long-range effort that, I mean, to be fair, you do expect a goalkeeper of Hoyley's size to be able to cover it, but he made it look good. And it's
one of those ones,
to
isn't
do
it?
that in a boring match.
Yeah. It's one of those ones where you look at it and if he saves it, it's a brilliant save. If he lets it in, it's an absolute howler. It's one of them ones where it looks good, but he should definitely be saving it. But he didn't. He did it. He did it well.
He made it look good. Like I said, he adds up to now like 11 clean sheets for the season. So he's doing really well. He is doing really well, and he seems to be settling into life. And the videos were great of him like shouting and really enjoying the victory against Rochdale. And that victory leaves us just 1 point behind Northampton, chasing down the automatic promotion places. We're in a fantastic position, mate. It wasn't the best of games, though, so it might be quite difficult for you to give your Foxes feature man of the match. Like you said, you weren't exactly there. You've seen some of the highlights. So, I mean, we've got pretty much the same amount of information to go off. What are you going for, pal?
Footmob gave it to Owen Moxon. He apparently had a few good sort of turns. I saw a video of him doing this absolutely brilliant bit of skill at one point in the game, and I think especially in the first half, it was probably man of the match. So Owen Moxon for me, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe it's about time I gave a bit of credit to the big man at the back. It is another clean sheet, and I know he didn't have a lot to do, but neither did anyone else. And you can't really say that Thomas didn't do all of his job right on the day. Arguably, there's a couple of other players you can say that about, but yeah, I'm going to give it to Thomas for the clean sheet. And really looking like he's confident enough to ask things of his defence and communicate in the box. And like you said, he's coming out and getting those crosses and claiming them and having that confidence to come out and do that. When you've got a back line with Mr. Fierce Feeney, the experienced Huntington, and the magnificent Mellish. Hey, I got there. I did it in the I got there in the end. It might be quite intimidating for you, even if you are 6'9" or whatever crazy height he is. To establish your voice in that back line. So it's nice to see he's coming out for those crosses. And he's my Boxes feature man of the match. Now, before we disappear, Liam, we're going to give our predictions. Now, obviously, this podcast comes out on a Wednesday, which means we won't be able... the Barrow game would have been and gone. So there isn't much point in us giving us predictions on the Barrow game and dwelling on them for too long. So I'll quickly just say I'm going to go for 2-0 to Carlisle.
3-2, I'll say.
All right, okay. 3-2. Plenty of goals for you. But the weekend's opponent is Harrogate. And quite interestingly, if you're a fan of Padded Seat, which is a page on Instagram that looks at the hospitality packages for football teams, so you can see sort of what Crawley offer at their ground, Swindon offer at their ground. It's good to have a nosy around, it's quite interesting. He's coming to Brunton Park on Saturday, so there'll be a video for the Harrogate game. Just giving him a little plug there. I'm a big fan of Padded Seat. Go and follow him on Instagram and Facebook and all of those good places. But the big game is obviously the Harrogate game. That's what we're interested in, mate. Harrogate, quite close to the bottom end of the table, in the bottom 5, slipping down there and struggling, losing 1-0 to Sutton at home. You fancy us?
I think against any other team I would, but Harrogate just every single time causes problems, don't they? I don't think we've ever beat them. There was that game, Taylor Charters scored a banger. It's the first time I've been to the Harrogate's grounds, the 3-3 earlier this season. And they were in a similar position then, and we were fighting at the top end at that time as well. So I don't want it to be, but I think a 1-1 draw is probably possible.
I think I don't think Harrogate are as potent as they used to be able to be, especially if they've got to play it on a decent surface like Brunton Park, and they do have to come and play at a decent surface, so Carlisle can play our game. That's the thing. We're going away to Harrogate. We can't play our game. We've tried to play the ball on the ground for like the last 18 months. Even on the beach, we tried to play the ball on the ground. It was over Millen, maybe we went for the big lumpet balls. But, I like to see the ball played on the ground, and we get to see that at Brunton Park, and Harrogate can't necessarily do that, and we've got the back 5 to deal with, better attacks than
I know, but that Armstrong they've got, though, he caused us so much problems. That Armstrong they've got, it's just him. It's him I have nightmares about, and he's going to be the one, because every single time he plays us, he scores, and I'm getting really sick of him and his stupid little ponytail. Like, it's him that you need to watch. If he's out, we'll win 5-0. But if he's there, I can't.
We are due a big win. So, 3-1 again. I'm going to go for 3-1. I think that feels about right. Maybe that Armstrong will score that one goal.
Yeah. Just to keep the run going.
That's it, man. But that's it for us, pretty much, man. It's been really fun doing it with you. Unfortunately, Will's not being able to join us this week, but next week I'm sure we'll be back here on the podcast. But for right now, there isn't really anything else for us to do apart from saying bye for now.
Bye.